Hi folks, and welcome to TK Power Sports and RVs. Today we're here with the 2023 Can-Am Outlander Pro. Now the Pro model is all about hauling trailers and working hard, and I'm going to tell you all about it right now. For 2023, the Outlander is brand new from the ground up. Now, I've actually already done a full video on the standard Outlander model, so if you're curious about those, go check it out here on the channel, because right now we're focused on the Pro. And the first question I want to answer is, what makes a Pro a Pro? So first of all, you're getting unique bumpers. You can see them up here, big beefy steel bumpers. Those are nice. You're also getting 6-ply tires, so a little bit more rubber there to make sure you don't puncture as easily. You get a speed limiter, which you can basically think of as cruise control. It allows you to just hold the throttle wide open, and then you can adjust the speed using buttons up on your handlebar. That's pretty cool. You also get work, standard, and sport modes, so you can change up the mode there depending on what you're doing. And then finally, maybe one of my favorite features, because I don't think it exists in the ATV industry, is selectable engine braking. There's 3 different levels of engine braking on the Pro models. So if you're coming down a long hill with the trailer on, you can set it to max and actually have some really good back pressure to hold back that weight. Like I said, this thing is brand new, so that means it comes along with a brand new power plant. This is a 650cc single-cylinder engine, although it will be offered with 2 different outputs. You have the base model, the HD5, which is actually this ATV right here. That's what we've been riding today, and it makes 40 horsepower and 37 pound-feet of torque, or you can step up to the HD7, and that thing's making 50 horsepower and 41 pound-feet of torque. And then all the different models will have unique clutching, and once you go for the Pro, you'll get more of that low-end usable power, whereas with the regular models, they want to kind of stretch out the power band into the high RPMs. This is the work model, so let's get to some numbers that matter. Talking about towing, this thing is rated at 1,830 pounds of towing, and that's actually over 500 pounds more than the outgoing Outlander, so that's a pretty big jump. Now the front rack here is rated at 120 pounds, and the rear rack is at 240, and those numbers actually didn't change for this generation. Now I do have to tell you, those numbers don't change. So even if you get a Pro, you get the exact same tow rating as the base model. And this is a little tricky because if you just look at the numbers, you're gonna say, well, I'll just get the base model and tow the same trailer. However, Can-Am will tell you that because of the spring rates on this Pro, it's gonna handle way better with that weight on here. And now folks, it is time to go for a ride here on the Outlander Pro. Now this model I'm on right here is an HD5 XU. So the HD5 is the less powerful power plant, and then the XU model brings along a whole bunch of features. One of the most important ones is the ITC, that is Intelligent Throttle Control. Now some of these Outlander models, the more base models, they just get an old school throttle, cable throttle, where there's literally a physical connection. The Intelligent Throttle Control is throttle by wire, so there's no physical connection between this throttle at my thumb and the actual engine. Now that allows Can-Am to do a number of different things, such as adding this intelligent engine braking system, also the cruise control system that I mentioned, and then you can also program different keys. So you can have a performance key, a work key, a sport key. You can have different keys for different applications, or maybe if you're lending it out to someone and you want to limit the speed, you can do that with the key too, and the ITC makes all of that possible. Now ITC is available on the Pro and on the non-Pro, and again, it just depends what model you get as to whether or not you have it. So I'll talk to you about how all that stuff works while we're going. Besides that, sitting on this thing is basically the same as the other Outlander. It's the same size, same seat width, all of that stuff is the same. So now let's nail the throttle and talk about the power. And you know what? It's still not bad. Now, right off the line, I do feel like there's not a really strong hit, but in the mid-range, you get plenty of power. And I think my big takeaway is that the HD5 is not significantly less powerful than the HD7. I mean, it's 10 horsepower on paper, but out here in practice, it's not crazy. I think where you really feel it is in the top end, but then we also have different clutching here. The Pro models get unique clutch setups to make sure you have usable torque at the low end. These machines aren't concerned about top speed and, you know, actually kind of maximizing those high RPMs. So what that means is, yeah, a really nice beefy kind of mid-range, although at the sort of the top of the RPM range, the power kind of falls off a little more noticeably than the HD7. So that's one thing you're going to notice, but you could get the HD7 in this platform as well, so that's just totally up to you. I was just impressed to see that going for the smaller engine, yeah, it's not a huge hit in power, and don't forget, it is the same actual engine. It's a 650cc power plant. Now when you go for the HD5, you get a unique ECU tune, but then when you step up to the 7, you get a different ECU and you also get a performance camshaft. So no, sadly, you can't just buy the HD5 and then flash the ECU to make it make more power. You actually have to change out to a high-performance camshaft as well. Now the other significant difference on the Pro model is the suspension, or the spring rates. Everything here has been made stiffer, and that is because this thing is supposed to haul trailers and haul heavy payloads. Now, I had the chance to tow a tiny little utility trailer and help feed some ranch animals. You can see me doing it right here. What can I say? It was not a thorough test, so I don't want to comment too much on trailer towing, but at low speeds, in low gear, the machine had no issue whatsoever getting that little trailer full of feed around. Now back to that stiffer suspension setup. So I'm back out here on this dirt track. It's the same track that I rode the standard Outlander, so it really does allow me to feel the differences. Now the big thing is, this model stays dead flat through the corners, which is kind of a good thing and kind of a bad thing. The bad part about it is that you don't get the weight transfer that you do with the standard model. The regular Outlander doesn't have a lot of body roll, but just a little bit through the corners, and I felt like my body weight could more easily manipulate that machine. When I was coming into a corner, if I stood up and kind of hucked my body over, the machine would respond before I even touched the handlebars. This Pro model is not like that because it doesn't have the tendency to lean a little bit and allow me to transfer the weight of the machine to one or two specific wheels. Yeah, it just has a tendency, like I said, stay flat, planted, but it's just not as playful. It's just straight up not as fun. The other machine, because you can manipulate it a little bit more, it just comes across like a much more fun machine. Now, I totally believe that if recreational riding is your #1 priority, I wouldn't go for a Pro model. However, for all you folks who do want to work hard with this thing, but then maybe take it out on the weekend, I also wouldn't worry about that. The suspension is stiff, but it is not, you know, bone-shattering stiff. Everything out here is fairly smooth, but we have a couple rough sections and one little rock garden. And in that rock garden, you're absolutely feeling how stiff it is, but I don't know, for me personally, it didn't feel too stiff, it felt just right, and on a long trail ride, yeah, I don't really think I'd have any issue with it. Now you do have a little bit of adjustability, just preload, so you can get in there and, you know, make it a little stiffer or a little less. But yes, the spring rates here are just straight up more aggressive than the standard Outlander, so you're never gonna totally get away from that feeling. Now we have to look at the storage and utility of this Pro model. So first of all, we have a whole new rack system up front, and it allows for this nice cargo bin. So this lid will come standard. You can also take it off though and have an open bin, or you can install link accessories into this front bin. All kinds of things, a fuel caddy, coolers, different accessories. And the one that I maybe think is the coolest is the new chainsaw holder. Now they don't have one here at the event. I'll show you a picture, but yeah, the bar of the chainsaw slots right down into the front of your machine, and I just think that's a really elegant solution. So as we roll back, you also get this new standard glove box. This is on every single model. It also has a cell phone holder that comes standard, so you put a little magnetic disc on the back of your phone and it'll stick right in there. That's a smart move. And then on this XU unit, that's the trim we're riding right here, we also get 2 USB ports in there. Now at the rear rack, they've done the same thing. This is nice because you can just toss stuff in here loose and it will actually kind of hold on to it. But again, you can also use your link accessories. And the other point I want to make about link is if you own a Skidoo or if you own a Sea-Doo, those accessories will fit on any of these models. So if you have one fuel caddy, you can use it for all your different machines. Now let me talk about the ITC stuff. The first one is intelligent engine braking. To the best of my knowledge, this is the first time a system like this has been introduced to an ATV. Now I have 3 settings. I have IEB medium, minimum, and max, and I'll try to show you guys the difference. So here I am at minimum, 25 miles per hour, and lift. Coasting, 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 coasting. It just coasts. It doesn't feel like there's barely any engine braking at all. So now let me get back up to 25 miles per hour, and I'll put the IEB on max, and there's 25, and there it is. You can just feel it braking, it's stopping, and it much more aggressively brings me to a stop. Now, I love that feature. Again, for me personally, we're always towing trailers, and where we have on our property, we got lots of hills. So you're coming down a steep hill with a bunch of weight behind you, you put your engine braking on maximum, and it's just one extra level of safety where the machine is helping you to hold back that weight. Now, the next system I'll talk about is the speed limiter, although personally I would probably call it cruise control. So I hold down, there's two buttons over here on my handlebar, hold down the back button, my limit comes on to whatever speed I'm doing. So right now, 27 miles per hour, and you don't know if you can see, but my thumb is all the way forward. I have the throttle fully depressed, and that's the key with this system, is you just hold the throttle wide open, and then it does the speed limiting for you. This is exactly what's been on Sea-Doo models for quite a few years now. And the big advantage, honestly, is if you are doing something where you can just hold a consistent speed, it's more comfortable for your thumb just to be in that wide open position. And then the other advantages to it that Can-Am mentioned, let's say you're a farmer and you have a big sprayer and you want to make sure you run at a dead consistent speed, well, this is going to help you do that. Now, one thing I was happy to see is the adjustments here happen really quickly, so I can boost my max speed like that up to 46 miles per hour. And then I'm coming into a corner, so I hold my decel, decel, decel down to 23. I have not lifted, I'm still thumb to the bar. Slow down through the corner and then accelerate out of the corner. That's awesome. It responds really quickly. So even on a trail ride, if you did find yourself getting a tired thumb, you can pretty much modulate your throttle using these two buttons alone, which is pretty cool. Now, just like on standard Outlander, you also get 3 different DPS modes. That's the dynamic power steering. So you can set it to max, where it's incredibly over boosted. And honestly, it takes nothing to turn it like this. And then you set it down to minimum, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, you got all this weight at your hands. Now, personally, I like minimum. I like the feedback. I like to have to work through my corners. But once again, after a long day of working especially, or even a long trail ride, you might be getting a little tired. Flip it over to max, and it's going to take some of that effort out of your hands. So once again, appreciate that Can-Am gives you the choice, because power steering is a touchy thing. Everybody likes it a little different, and some brands just say, well, this is how we think it should be, and that's what you get, whereas Can-Am gives you the choice. Now, throughout all of the stand-up, you were probably saying, why do you have mud waders on? Well, Can-Am also brought out the Outlander XMR. That's their specific mud model. It's not a Pro, it's just a standard Outlander 700. And there's a whole bunch of cool things on that. A radiator relocate kit. All of the intakes have been brought up. Everything's sealed off. So it's ready for the deep water and the mud. And I got a chance to go out there and ride it. And you can see that right here.
And as you can see, the XMR dominated this mud pit. It comes fit with 28-inch XPS Swamp King tires with 14-inch aluminum wheels, and Can-Am says they specifically gave it the larger wheel to actually cut down on flotation a little bit, make those wheels and tires heavier, because they found that the previous model had a little bit too much flotation with the smaller wheels. Now, I got to go, like I said, into this water, into the mud, and you can see me working on my water wheelies. I'm not great at them, but I will say that the Outlander made it easy to get in there. It was very controllable. The tires had loads of grip. And then, of course, this thing gets the Visco 4-lock front differential, which means that you can hit a button, it's selectable, and lock it right up. And once you do that, you got loads of traction. So for the price, which is starting at $12,299 Canadian, this XMR is truly a blast.
Well, folks, we are coming to the end of this one. Now, I think Can-Am has differentiated this Pro model enough. It comes with enough unique features that if you are the guy who truly wants to work with this unit, this is going to pull you in. And then I think maybe my favorite part, if you do want to go have fun on the trail, you can still absolutely do that too. So like I said, that's it for this one. Please go below into the comments. Let me know what you think of the whole Outlander lineup and the Outlander Pro. As always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member of our channel, and then come right back here to see what we're testing next. And if you'll excuse me, I got more riding to do. See you, folks.